Hello. Welcome everybody to our second Stand Up for Lower Merion Zoom meeting. I want to thank you all for joining us. We have a brief agenda. We will be as something I want to do for each meeting is start out with a brief slideshow. That's the educational part, and I try and keep it brief. And actually, that slideshow takes up 1 through 3 of our meeting agenda. And I did find, hooray, I did find the present button on the slideshow. So that's good. And I also wanted to introduce Annie Dennison, who is my co-founder in Stand Up for Lower Merion. I just have a bigger voice than she does as far as vocally, that's all. All right, present. But I did that, exits full screen. Oh. All right, one day I'm going to get this smooth. Exit. I have to hit share screen first. And there it is. Share. Present. And let's small active screen.
Adrian, I know on my computer, if I just hit the space bar, it moves it to the next one or the forward.
Okay, yeah, I was trying to figure out the screen view so that it wasn't being clipped. So, all right, I think this works. Everybody can see this? Shout yes.
Yep.
Okay. Welcome to Stand Up for Lower Merion. This is our community meeting. We're planning on doing these. I know there was one last week, but we're planning on doing these for a little bit, just every other week. And we would like to have them run about an hour so that it's something that's watchable for somebody else after the fact. Yes, thank you, Sarah. We're going to talk about the importance of primaries. There are elections twice a year, every year. The first election of the year is usually in April during presidential years, and it is the primary. This is when you get to choose who will be on the ballot in the general election, and the political parties make endorsements. These are their suggestions of who you should vote for. You should do your own research to make sure you agree. Pennsylvania has closed primaries, and in a closed primary, that means Democrats can only vote for Democrats and Republicans can only vote for Republicans. Non-affiliated voters that aren't registered as a Democrat or Republican, can only vote during the primary when there are questions on the ballot. There will be 3 questions. I heard maybe 4 on the ballot. We suggest you read the bills and follow up discussions from the League of Women Voters and others on messaging. Links will follow. The ballot questions were actually published as a public notice in the Inquirer a week ago Tuesday. I will try and get like PDFs of that and put them on our Stand Up for Lower Merion FYI. The word I have now is to vote no on all of them, but we're going to give you a lot more info so you can make up your own mind. Important dates. Register to vote if you're not registered already. change your address or party affiliation, apply for a mail-in or absentee ballot is now. You can do that now. The last day to register before the primary is May 3rd, but if you want to change your address or party affiliation, you have to do that by April 18th, the month before. The last day to apply for a mail-in ballot or a civilian absentee ballot is May 11th. Do not, under any circumstances, wait that long because the mail. And also, it just overwhelms the Board of Elections. So if you can do that in advance. The last day for the County Board of Elections to receive your mail-in and civilian absentee ballots is May 18th, and the municipal primary is May 18th. Those that are out of the country or in the military have another week to get their ballots in. And there you are. Apply for a mail-in ballot and request to be added to the annual mail-in ballot list at votespa.com. If you're already on the annual mail-in or absentee ballot list, your county will send you an application. I don't think they went out quite in February, but complete and return it, and you will receive mail ballots for every election in which you are eligible to vote this year. That would include, if we have them, special elections. Okay. And next. So you're not going to remember whether or not you signed up for the permanent absentee ballot. Of course, who does? But if you go to Votes PA, where's my notes? There's supposed to be notes on the bottom here. Okay, apparently not. You will see. Did this take it out of presentation mode?
Yes.
All right. You will see from this that it shows that my status is active. I did mine. It's my date of birth. Oh, I should have crossed out the year. And whether or not I'm a permanent voter, it says no. So I'm going to have to apply for that absentee or mail-in ballot if I want that and don't want to vote in person. Your choice, whatever you want to do. But it also gives you a ton of information where your voting district, your congressional district, your Senate and House district for the state, voter services for Montgomery County, the phone number, and their email. It also tells you your polling place, and if my screen was larger, you would see that this tells us also directions to our polling place. And there's the present button again. And guess what? That is it. Short and sweet. Let me stop the share and ask if anybody has any questions.
Adrian, I found that even if you're marked yes as permanent voter, you still have to actually apply. It just means they'll send you a paper request.
Right. If you want to do it, that's a good point. Thank you, Sarah. If you get something in the mail, but if you want to apply online, you can still do that. Yeah, it's a little funky the way they have that worded, and it has been a bit of confusion around. So
anybody see the signs that we can get for lawn signs, the vote, to vote by mail lawn signs that they're offering? I have
Yeah.
I've got a few. Those, you just pick
Yeah,
them up.
I'm gonna, that's another thing I have on my list of things to do this week, because we're gonna have nice weather. Does anybody have any questions on what I did for the slideshow? Seeing not, oh, Jerry?
Just a comment. I think that I think that the state has created a problem of with the confusing message about where voters stand with mail ballots. I think they've actually like lulled a number of voters into thinking that I don't have to do anything, and all I have to do is, because I checked that box off last year, I just have to show up at the polls every year. And you've actually got to do something a little bit proactive
Right.
if you want to vote by mail.
Hence why I do what I do. You do have to still fill in the application and send it in. You can still.
I'm predicting a lot of voters it will be at the last minute discovering that they can't vote in the upcoming primary because they got the thing in the mail and they threw it out. Yeah.
Jerry, we're doing a text campaign.
A what?
Just a texting campaign to make sure they know.
Oh,
cool.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I'm just getting the tech all together. We're having some technical difficulties, but it'll happen right after Passover.
I'm sure not a single voter will ignore it. Not at one.
But well, that's why, Jerry, you have your little messaging Lower Merion thing. You should do something.
Excuse me, not little.
All right, well, that's even better. Nancy is with Indivisible Narberth, with Indivisible Lower Merion, also NAACP. You guys belong to organizations. You can copy and paste our messaging and our information, because going on to number 4, revising our mission statement, Annie and I want to make it clear that we do not want to reinvent the wheel. There are enough people around reinventing the wheel. But what we want to do is to be a conduit, be an information hub that you can go, I wonder what they said. I wonder if I missed that message from this organization, this local organization, and you'd be able to find it on our StandUp4LMN Lower Merion FYI. I got to add Narberth into that. I'm sorry, Deb. But
thank you.
Yeah, I know.
Don't disrespect the burr.
Nah, the burr is great. Love the burr. Yeah, Mary Kay also. Yes. So these are things that we want to do. And Annie, do you have anything else to say about the mission statement?
Yeah, I did want to add that one thing that we've done for a couple of years now is try to be an educational website. Organization. We've hosted a few events just clarifying the process of local government, clarifying the process of different committees and how they work, and just trying to, just clarify what our community is made of, how we can, how it works, so that people aren't intimidated by the process of getting involved. So they don't, there are all these organizations doing a lot of advocacy work, and it can be a little intimidating to jump in and know what being a good advocate for things you believe in are if you're not sure what the process is. So that's also something that we're involved in, is educating and clarifying about the community in that way. Yeah, commissioners, school board, how the election process works. And that's really important to me.
Yeah, because we kind of feel the more people that are involved, I mean, the more people
personally, I run in, sorry.
Go ahead.
Just not being a registered Democrat for my entire life, my entire voting life. Not really understanding, well, how can I be involved in this process if I'm not a registered Democrat? You know, I mean, the Democratic committee people are reaching out to the Democratic constituents. Unaffiliated voters have no voice. You know, how can you still be a member or a part of the process if you're not a cog in that machine? So
become a Democrat.
you know, I've that's a different conversation.
That's why
very big conversation. I mean, just to be honest, based on that meeting, the school board meeting, I'm sorry, this is hard for me, so if we cannot interrupt. Watching that school board meeting convinced me that I'm gonna have to, because that was nonsense. But I do not feel like the two-party system is right, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah, that's why League of Women Voters is for open primaries, so that everyone, you know, if you're a taxpayer, you're paying to run the election. But then again, I understand the point of view of, if you don't want to join the party, either party, then why should you have a say in it? But then again,
why should there be a two-party system?
Well,
you know,
yeah.
I mean, and like I said, I've got the website up. I'm gonna, every time I look at it, I kind of shudder, but by the end of the day, I will be a registered Democrat. But it's not a nice choice that I'm making here, and I feel like it's compromise in order to move forward. And that's why Stand Up for Laura Marion is nonpartisan, and why I want to be an informational, educational project here, you know, so that people like me who don't know how to get involved can be involved. So, muting myself now.
And if I can just chip in for a second there, I think that it's an area maybe where the Democratic Party is being a little short-sighted, because, you know, voter engagement is a big problem, you know, across the country, and shutting people out isn't the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how is
you know
that
what,
happening?
I'm sorry, Kim, to interrupt you, but if we can do under reactions, there's a raise hand button, so that we can just keep, and you know, two people don't talk at once because they didn't know who's next. Okay, but I know Kim is next.
I just found it.
Okay.
Along those lines, I also think that we have to understand, I have my oldest who turned 18 in October. We have a lot of young voters who are registering unaffiliated. When he registered to vote, he registered unaffiliated. He did not vote for Trump, but he registered unaffiliated. And I think if I'm a lifelong Democrat, registered since I was 18 as a Democrat. After the meeting the other day, I'm not leaving the party, but I have to say it's the first time in my life I've thought of going unaffiliated, because I was so, I felt like this did not represent my value. What I saw locally at this meeting did not represent my values. So I think that we do have to be aware that many young voters who may be more likely to vote Democrat for Democratic candidates are registering as unaffiliated. And I think that in the future, the local party certainly needs to do a better job. If anything, I was turned off and have not, first time I really seriously thought about registering as an independent. How do I lower my hand?
Just go to the same reaction thing and it'll say lower.
Thank you.
Kim, you are not the only person I heard that from. Sarah, if you would unmute yourself. looks like you're next. And we're, I'm sorry, before you start, we're apparently going to number 6, which was fallout from the Democrat endorsement meeting, and we'll do how to get involved after. Okay.
I have my hand up too. I don't know if you can see it because of the color.
No, because you have yellow walls and the hand is yellow.
Right.
Thank you.
Right.
Were you before Sarah or after? Do you know?
I think I was before Sarah, but it doesn't matter.
Go ahead. Go ahead then.
You want me to go?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm intrigued by the comments about that meeting. I kind of feel like a lot of our meetings are sort of like that. I've seen them over the years. It's just that because it was on Zoom, maybe more people watched it. You know, usually there's not a whole lot of people in that room, but I have watched leadership steamroll conversations for years. It's really it wasn't any surprise to me. It wasn't any different. And, you know, watching Bob Winkleman, you know, scream over me was a little shocking, but he's done it before outside of these rooms. So, you know,
Landslide Bob.
Huh?
Landslide Bob.
Well, you know, I think you made a good point, Jerry, that he was not elected. And one of the things that bothers me is that he was immediately appointed to the committee. And, you know, maybe because of his affiliation with Mary Jo. But I would say to people who looked at that meeting and, you know, and didn't like the way people were acting, just to give it a chance, give us, you know, don't throw the baby out.
The baby away with the bathwater. You just froze.
And think, well, this is the Democratic Party. Yeah. So because, you know, the thing is that these are all human beings. They're all people. We're all flawed. We all make mistakes. But the tenets in the Democratic Party really are good. And the country has always done better under Democratic presidents. When you register as an independent, a lot of people will switch back to independent and then switch to a party when the elections come up so that they can vote in the primaries. And then sort of, I don't know, maybe because they're just not comfortable being affiliated with a party, they'll switch back. And for me, it's like, I used to want to be an independent, but I can't be bothered switching, you know, back and forth. It takes too much time and nobody knows anyway. So it doesn't faze me. And now I'm a Democratic committee member, so clearly I can't be an independent. I sort of understand that, but just keep your eye on the bigger picture, which is that the country does better under the economy does better, and that's, you can go back and look, and under Democrats. And now the Republican Party has lost its mind, so there's just not even a comparison anymore. But I would say, you know, give us a chance to try and work this out. I think the leadership is very used to a certain methodology, and they're entrenched in it. And I don't know what they think really about the process, but you know, maybe they can be more open-minded. But to see 1/3 of that committee vote for no endorsements in Narberth was thrilling, because, you know, 3, 4, 5 years ago, it was a handful that stood up and were immediately shut down. This conversation has been going on for a little while since I've been involved. I was so pleased to see the improvement. So I guess that's what I'd like to say to folks. And I appreciate that everybody watched that thing. But, you know, watch the British Parliament talk to each other, man. I think they start throwing stuff. I don't know. We were pretty tame compared to the Brits.
If we could try and keep the comments to a minute, because I want to keep the meeting to an hour, so it will be watched again. Sarah, you are next. Thank you.
So when we talk about these newly 18-year-olds, I actually have one who will turn 18 not until April. So this will be his first election, literally. And talk about a system that is broken. Registering in Pennsylvania is a broken system. But we had a long talk, and I think every single parent should be having this talk about, when you're registering, what does it mean? how it impacts your voting. So when I came to Pennsylvania, I came from Illinois, which does have open primaries, where open primary being actual open primaries, where if you are an independent, you can pick which ballot you will vote in the primary on. And so as a young 18-year-old, that was actually encouraged to us in the suburb that I grew up in, so that we would have more choice. So I came to Pennsylvania, didn't even understand the difference in the law. And I learned the hard way when I went to go vote in the primary the first time since I moved here, and couldn't. And so from my own experience, I made sure my child, who was newly registering, understood what it meant. And I personally, like, he registered for what he registered, and that's his personal thing. But what it's important is that we don't just throw the party out, that we have to be the change that we want to see. So I became a committee person because my door was never knocked, because nobody ever engaged me, because nobody even tried to engage me. And I hope, at least in my precinct 14-3, I've done that. I make an effort to, I really hate the whole 0 through 10 system, or 8 system, where we, rate our voters on how often they vote, and then we don't engage with certain groups. And I've made a point of engaging with those groups that the committee generally isn't engaging. And what we saw was a very small turnout turning into one of the largest in the entire Lower Merion. So Penguin is, next to Narberth, the highest turnout, and that's because we engage everybody. So that's really important to think about. Don't just throw the party out because of this. This is the always behavior. We can change that by running for committee, by getting more people who will speak out, like those of us who have been, because this has been, since I joined the committee, how it's been, and we need more people to change it. We're already seeing some change, but we need more people.
Okay, we'll go into that in the getting involved. I think Sandra was next, and then I wasn't sure whether Nancy or Jerry was next. Annie, and please try to keep it to a minute. I don't want to cut anybody off.
Thank you. So I have 3 points, so I'm going to try to be succinct. I think that it is important locally, whether it's the Democratic Party or just in general, that we don't discount how many people are registering unaffiliated. I think it's great. I think it's important to educate young voters, like Sarah was saying, about the implications, especially in Pennsylvania. But when and I've been a Democrat my whole life, that was what I knew growing up, and I'm a registered Democrat. But to say to people who choose to register unaffiliated, well, you need to just be part of the Democratic Party so you can be part of the process, discounts their voice. And I think that's a very dangerous thing to do. So I think that as we look forward, we have to pay attention to that, because the numbers of unaffiliated voters are going way up. I think knowing that that's how meetings typically are run, and it just happened to be caught by a broader group of people, is a really big problem. And I'm quite frankly disappointed that fewer people in the last week, fewer committee members, haven't publicly spoken up and said, we've witnessed that behavior for years, and now we're going to say we're not standing for that anymore. That's not okay. And the fact that that hasn't happened is a complicity problem. And the other piece, I know, Deborah, you mentioned being so grateful to see how many people voted not to endorse and what a shift that was. And I want to point out that one shift that we haven't seen is that we don't have 50 committee members who are willing to endorse a woman who has a very strong voice, who is willing to listen to the community because she is a strong Black female. I think Kimberly Garrison not getting an endorsement was shocking to a lot of people in the community. And we can't act just because we've made progress like what we saw with the misogyny in that meeting was okay, we can't ignore the racism that we saw in the meeting. And I'll wrap there because I'm probably over a minute. I apologize for that.
Thank you.
I'd like to respond to that since I was sort of called out in that conversation.
Deb, I don't really want to go into the details of because we're a nonpartisan group. I mean, we can maybe after this first hour is over, we'll go off of recording and we can discuss that further. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate your understanding. Was it Jerry or Nancy next?
I think Jerry.
You go, Nancy.
Oh
Go ahead.
man, I don't know where to start. I am going to try to put in writing. It's going to take a pretty long time, ways I think our committee can do much better. But I do just want to say that I see some people said they're going to get involved because of this. That's what I would like to happen. It isn't just our committee that's dysfunctional. The state committee is even worse, in my opinion. I've had contact with them lately. If they were a business, they would be out of business. They don't organize. They don't organize timely. They're not, I just can't even, I'm not going to take time on that. The other thing, there are just so many problems with our committee, but all of them, our committee particularly says we're going to lead by listening, which I argue we do not do almost at all or have a process in place for that. And that we're going to also teach and educate, which I also don't think we do. Basically, the Democratic Party is not helping democracy. Don't get me wrong, I'm a Democrat. I believe in most of their social and whatever. I'm not, I don't mean to diss the party, but I was at a meeting with Keith Ellison like 4 years ago, and he was very big into community roots. We don't plant.
I was at that same meeting.
We don't plant roots in the community. We take this tree with no roots and try to jam it in the ground before every election. And that's just not going to work. It's not going to help our party. It's not going to help our country. And I do just want to say something about that last meeting. There's no meeting. That meeting was destined to fail and destined to result in ugliness, because there is no way we could cover the ground appropriately in the amount of time we had. And it gets people crazy and frustrated. People want to get on with stuff because they think they know what they're doing. They think they know everything. They actually don't. And then other people feel disrespected because they're not heard. We clearly would need a separate meeting about rules, about understanding stuff. And my last thing I just want to say is, that vote we took wasn't actually for an open primary. All that vote was to let us have that question be discussed first and not part of the ballot. And I don't even think people understood what they were voting for. Anyway, I'm done.
All right, I just want to add before we get to Jerry, I know right now the state party is doing a lot of work to get itself organized and put together, and it is happening. I've been talking to people, and they're trying to get their shit together, and they're trying to be work better throughout the coordinated campaigns and others. So I know that it is crazy with the party, but I think we need to do stuff right in our little niche and not worry about state and see what happens with this new actions that they're doing. Jerry.
Yeah, okay. I wanted to speak to Deb and Nancy's points. First, Nancy, regarding the 32 to 50 vote, it was definitely, it was a procedural vote. I made an amendment that would have given us the opportunity to vote for open primary before we got into the actual voting for the endorsements. Although, even though it was a procedural vote, I think it gave you a really good sense of where the committee stands right now in terms of, endorsement by default versus endorsement earned for something really, really important. And then to what Deb was saying about how, there's, I think there's four of us here, or five of us are class of 2018 on the committee. We're junior members coming into the last year of our term. If we would have held that vote in 2018, I don't think we would have gotten 16 votes, much less 32 votes that we got.
We didn't. We didn't. We tried.
I said if we would have held that vote.
But we did try to hold something very similar, and it did not go anywhere.
Right.
I got screamed over, Jerry.
What's that?
I got screamed over and was never allowed to make a motion.
Right. Okay, so as Deb was saying, we are making progress, and for me the most encouraging thing, I wrote this on Facebook, is if you split the 82 people who voted on Tuesday night into two groups of 41, the junior group, which we're all part of, and the senior group, and if you look at the 32 votes, I'd be willing to bet that 20 something of them or more came from the junior group. So the new blood is definitely thinking more like we're thinking than the old guard. That's it.
Yeah. Sarah, did you just not put your hand down, or you put your hand up again? Put your hand up again.
I put my hand up again. Sorry.
All right.
You mentioned state party and how they're trying to organize, but some of that is on a county level because state party is made up of representatives from each county. And what I experienced the last time we had county, representatives voted for state county was, this is your slate. Nobody else is allowed to run.
Yeah,
these are 11 people who we will be voting for. And whereas in Delco, they had like 82 slates or something like that. So, we have a non-democratic way to vote for our slate that goes to the state party. And that also has to end, because this is not acceptable that these same people are voted over and over, and people like me, the county party, are not going to allow to run at this point, because they're going to try to stop us in every way they can. So state slate, what do I mean about the state slate? So every county has a certain number of representatives to the state party for your county, and it's based on population and committees, and there's a whole formula. So I think MCDC, Montgomery County, has like 11 representatives to state party, and they push their slate of people, their people that they want to get this, and it's a mess how that's decided. So we have a problem just with our representatives, which are not representing the very diverse county that we are right there.
It just is an addition.
Yeah.
I think all the people to the county committee, the reps to the county committee,
Yep.
all but one are older than me.
Yes.
And I know the reps to state committee are older too.
Right.
So
there is nobody young, whereas you look at Delco and it's a young slate that was actually voted in because there were like 82 groups of people running, or something very high number of people that went on their ballot, and they actually had a campaign and talk about what they wanted to do. on state committee, whereas we don't have an actual race at all. People go to their ballots and it's the first time they're even seeing that they're voting for people representing them at a state level.
Yeah. And I think this is a perfect time to go into how to get involved. And I think we have, how many people do we have on here? 14 people. We need 1,400 people. There's 40,000 registered voters in Lower Merion-ish. There are 10,000 Republicans, and I think there's 5,000 independents. I have to go look those numbers up again. Don't take them as gospel. But there's close to, or it's 10,000 that are Republicans and independents, something like that. So there's close to 30,000 registered Democrats in Lower Merion. We're not at, and Narberth. It was and Narberth. And if we have just this little band of people that are going to be active, it puts too much on the plate of just us. You need to reach out to other people in the other organizations you're in. You need to reach out to your friends and neighbors. I mean, when I heard a young mother on our committee say, well, young mothers are too busy to find out the information. No, there were older people who said it, but then there was a young mother who said that same thing. And I'm wondering, well, how the heck did you find time to vote, to give an educated vote on the endorsement? I mean, the committee people, the election for committee people is during the primary of next year. So even if you're not thinking of voting, some things you can do, you can reach out to your committee person and you can ask, and this is only Democratic or Republican stuff, you can reach out to, Republicans have committee people too. So you can reach out to your committee person who's currently working and ask if you can help. And a good clue on whether they do anything is if they ever get back to you. Okay. I like Sarah, never had anybody respond to me. I never knew that I had a committee person. I never knew who it was. But beyond that, beyond just the party stuff, there needs to be people showing up to school board meetings. That not just because there's COVID or because the school district is looking to take over Stoneleigh. There needs to be a regular basis of communication to the school board, and they are not good at that, and they will shut you down every bit as much as the Democratic Party shut us down on Tuesday. The Board of Commissioners, you also, and Borough Council. We need people that are going to go to those meetings or at least report back on those meetings. And I think that's an important way to get information out, because people can't sit through a 2-hour meeting. They are busy. I don't have kids. I'm retired. I don't even have grandkids or a pet. So I can put a full amount of time into this stuff. But everybody can't. And by getting like 12 people that will commit to go to each month's school board meeting and write a little thing up that we can post with the link to the meeting. Getting 12 more people that will go to the Board of Commissioners meeting and report, and another 12 that'll go to the Narberth Borough Council and then report back. I think, you know, that starts to get the community involved, that starts to get them educated, and more education leads to more involvement. Annie, I see your hands up. Thank you. Take your mic off. Take your.
Sorry. I just wanted to add that, you know, going back to what I was saying earlier about us being an educational organization to a certain extent, I hope to have more meetings about, you know, what do commissioners do and when are they elected? When's the time to get involved with the elections? When these dates are happening. So spreading information when we're having those events, they're really just going to be, how does this process work? I'm hoping could help people feel more empowered to be engaged in the process. So not, I mean, it would be all people going to meetings and reporting back is wonderful, you know, wonderful, but also just sharing that information about how these processes work. And that's one thing that we are going to be definitely doing. Again, that's all.
Okay. Sarah brought to my attention that that Janine had her hand up, and I totally missed it because she's in the bottom, like right hand of my screen. So I didn't see it. Janine, did you have something to add? I'm so sorry I missed you. I guess not. Nancy, our DCLMN committee does have an outreach committee. I used to be on it. I didn't find it worth my time.
Did you read my whole note?
Yeah, well, yes. I have already written to Jonathan Shapiro. I talked to Gilda Kramer, who's my area rep. She's not my area rep, but she's one of the 3 area reps. And I said, okay, we don't do this during the meetings. When can we do this? And she told me the procedure. I have to write to them and get them on, something put on the agenda. But more so, we don't have meetings in the summer. There's nothing in the bylaws that says we couldn't have figured out these rules in July and August. So we didn't have the show that we had this last week. And all these issues that we're bringing up, we can bring up during the summer and throughout the year. And then we can actually get some movement done. But it is true, during a meeting, if you're trying to bring up anything, they weaponize Robert's Rules of Order and try and shut you down. But I think if we're working more, as much in the community as we do for the party, I think that brings a lot of energy. And people who don't want to be political just want to know, you know, like what's happening. There's a lot of people that don't want to be political that are registered to both parties and as independents. But they might want to know what the goals of the superintendent are. Okay. The Pennsylvania School Board Association recommends that the superintendent be evaluated by the school board each year, and that be up on the website. What is currently up on the website is something that says the superintendent met all his goals and he's wonderful. I'm paraphrasing, but that's about as long as it was. So I wrote 2 community comments, which are supposed to go to the school board. and asked them what the actual goals were that he met and they set. And it was intercepted by administration and turned into a right to know request that I got sent a generic something from the School Board Association, Pennsylvania School Board Association, saying what a superintendent's supposed to be, and the rest of it was denied. I'm paying, you're paying, we're all paying, no matter what party or what registration we have. And even if we're not registered, we're all paying that superintendent's salary. I think that as citizens and taxpayers of the area, we're entitled to know that information. I did file with the state a complaint that they didn't let us know that. And what I think, which is worse than them just keeping it quiet, was that they didn't do their job. And the school board is not about management. The school board is about governance. They set stuff for the superintendent to do, and the superintendent's supposed to do that. And I also asked for the goals for this 2021 school year, especially with COVID, and they just didn't want to do it. They just didn't want to respond. So I've taken it further, and I think this is the type of thing we have to do. We have to, I know Dan with the Board of Commissioners is always there posting stuff about, you know, what new thing that they are trying to build, what new thing is getting built and how that works. So I'm gonna let